Hello, welcome back to Forever Adulting with Asha and Sassy. Didn't wait.
We are two women in our 30s, usually on the other end of the Jubilee line to one another. But today, Asha, you're back. You're still in India. I'm here in England.
I'm here sipping my masala chai, and also look at these biscuits. They're called dark fantasy. This is my breakfast of the day in the land of the greatest food. But we've got to do what we've got to do to solidify ourselves to the art.
I love a biscuit wherever we are in the world, so I'm fully supporting of that, my darling. I wonder how you are, but before we get into our big chats, we wanted to let listeners know, if you're listening on Islington Radio, then you get a juicy playlist for this episode. And if you're just watching on YouTube, then you just get our beautiful faces.
Not just babes, you are pleasured. You are, what is it? A divine God gift to you.
It's like a birthday. So on my end of the playlist, I've popped in Anxiety by Doechii, because not only is she like the hottest thing on the planet right now, at least in the West, this song kind of reflects some of the topics we're going to be talking about. I've also thrown in Golden by Almien, which is pretty juicy. Again, you'll recognise the lyrics are relevant to what we're chatting about. And then we end on Easier from my end by Oscar de Ramon, which I'm hoping this episode will get easier the more we do it. What's on your end, Asha?
Said that for 6 months. And I have chosen not to stick to the theme. Unfortunately, I've just been listening to a lot of religious songs in the last 6 weeks. So you're going to get Femme Fatale by Sandia, because iconic song. We're both femme fatales. We're both shooting it and rocking it. Oh my God, look at me. I'm so Indian, rocking it, yeah. Rocking it into 2025. So I thought that was a really nice song to describe both of us at this moment. And then just a nice little R&B track from Bollywood. It's called Samajona. It's a Bollywood love story song. It's just easy listening. I'm not going to lie to you. There's no meaning to it.
And I woke up listening to these tracks because you sent them over my way, and I was like, "Oh, this is a vibe." But you just mentioned there you're in more of a spiritual space at the moment. So, Asha, I'm wondering, how are you? What's been going on?
I'm great, thanks, babes. I've discovered a lot of things. I'm just here surviving. How am I? I'm great, I think. I think everything. I'm thinking of it as in like IKEA blocks. Like everything is kind of fitting in, and now it's settling. Like my inner system is finally the blocks are starting to make a line, I guess. Like, build a block, basically, just like that. That's how I'm thinking of it, like spirituality and flat pack furniture. So I'm good. I've had to do a lot of like chasing, a lot of inner work. And I guess that leads on to our topic of today, which is
Escapism.
Escapism.
And I think there is this question underlying this topic for us, which is it peace-seeking or is it responsibility avoidance? And that's quite a tricky thing to define. I think it's very much based on place by place. And we mentioned between us in our pre-chat about the cultural differences and how that impacts our daily life, how we feel, the kind of productivity. And I would say in London, escapism comes in quite intoxicated forms. It's hedonistic, it's drugs, alcohol, kink, it's AI. It's
for everybody else, not us. We don't do any of those.
Never touch the stuff. Don't even know what kink is. The things that I've definitely found myself approaching as a form of escapism this first few months of the year have been getting out the country, trying to leave the city, and also I hate talking about this, but my relationship to weed, and I think that's making me realise it's quite an emotional escape for me. How about you, Asha? How do you relate to the topic?
Escapism, well, let's face it, I'm being in India. Like, there literally cannot be anything bigger than this fucking trip. Like, I'm spending the last 4 months escaping from everything. Do I feel proud? Yeah. Do I feel privileged? Yeah. Proud and privileged go hand in hand, don't they, really? Do I feel proud that I have stopped escaping from my problems in London and actually started to maybe address them? That's quite a good thing. But also meeting so many people who are in the same vein of life or same escapism route as me. We're all traveling in India. Or if you want spiritualism, go to India. Basically, that's what it is, right? Flat pack furniture, spiritualism. Or did I call it in the last episode microwave spiritualism? Yeah, and my life every day is escapism. Privilege. That's it.
But I think we don't prioritize some of that spiritual, what you're calling maybe privilege. We don't prioritize it in daily life in countries where it's very capitalist, or even the lifestyle doesn't allow for more religious practices, like the idea of waking up every morning, lighting the incense, going to the temple, saying a blessing, recognizing your gratitude before you step into your working day. That's not escapism, right? That's actually very important practices of mindfulness and grounding.
Sorry, we agreed that we wouldn't interrupt each other. But I've noticed also belief is such a huge important thing. And a side topic off what we were talking about, but in the West we come from a culture of lack. In the East it comes from a culture of being content. And that contentness comes from belief, right? I feel like God has found me in this trip, because I've tried to find God for the last 5 years and they're like, no, girl, you need to just keep working. And I've come through some really crazy situations in the last few days. And actually, I've just kept God's name in my head and just keep chanting these mantras. And actually, everything's worked out. And that's belief. You know, Hinduism is the religion and the belief that I'm exploring. But actually, you know, it's about mythology. It's about crazy stories. It's about, you know, believing in a river and really believing that. And how much of that is escapism, or how much of that is belief? And that's what we don't have in the West, is belief. We're quite a pessimistic society. And as you said, quite capitalist. And it's very give and take, give and take, give and take. And that's what I believe we don't have. That's what I believe that we escape from. So we don't have this belief system. Bethany, what does escapism look like to you?
Well, it makes me feel almost sad saying this in the face of what you've just shared, because that sounds like such a beautiful, blossoming, positive experience. Whereas I think escapism for me is usually the numbing out. The doom scrolling is a classic example. Again, I mentioned kink, but kink really does provide me with that escapism. I'm not in my head anymore. It's almost utopia, or it's not reality. And I think keeping track of what our behaviors are and how often we're leaning into something for that form of escapism, whether it's binge eating, or it is through intoxicating drugs, or it's the scrolling, or it's the kink. So, okay, well, let's just check that at the time. Like, is that serving me? What am I trying to avoid here? Am I doing this one thing way too often? And you actually shared this idea of what a sensory escape is, which really resonated with me, because I think we do find, and maybe this is what we get in meditation too, but it can take other senses to take us out of our head and into this, I don't know what to call it. I'm waving my hands around my head, but it's like, you know, you're taken out of the body, you're taken out of the mind, you're elevated. Or maybe you're taken out of the mind into the body, but it's definitely something to help switch this shit off. And I'm pointing to my brain because, at least for me, it's like non-stop chatter up there.
But then do you think that doom scrolling, for example, is feeding that dopamine that you need, and not then it's still feeding your brain, but it's just feeding the happiness that you want, and this small, short forms of dopamine. And we all know that. It's not a discussion. We all know that Instagram is dopamine. But Bethany, what are your favourite go-to escapisms? Life is hard. Life in London is extremely hard. And sometimes we both know a cup of tea is just a little form of happiness, a little pocket of happiness. What are your ways of escapism that you can share with our listeners? or you can suggest to other people.
I like how you spun this in a more positive frame. Okay, yes, you're right. It can be positive. I love nature. I've probably mentioned this in previous episodes, but walking down the street and hyper focusing on petals and the things that are growing in nature is such a good way for me to just get out of everything, even lose my peripheral vision and focus on that microscopic. And you know what, Asha? The magnolia trees are coming into full bloom, and I know you love that when you're here.
Oh, I forgot how much I love that. I spent, well, actually, a little mini heartbreak. So I went magnolia picking to make magnolia syrup. This took me a day and a half, and then the fucking syrup went off. And I gave it to so many fucking people as gifts, right? And I remember giving it to my burlesque colleagues, and they're like, what the fuck have you just given me? But magnolia syrup? But anyway, if you can forage for magnolia, you can eat them raw, you can crystallize them, you can pickle them, and you can make magnolia syrup. And it's really like a subtle taste of like rose, floral, lavender. Very good, very good. But magnolias, yes.
I'm sold, Ash. I've got to go out there and try and forage my way down the streets of.
Yeah, but just pick a few. Don't go Asha, like really zone in. Just pick a few. Don't go mad. Don't be good driving around to different places. No.
How about you, honey? You just took us back to a memory of you in London. Do your forms of escapism, has it stayed the same wherever you've been moving?
I think I have to be really honest with you and the listeners that travel is literally my escape, and I'm just so grateful that I can do it. Whenever I feel stuck, I can travel. This trip just came to me, so I feel really grateful for that, and I'm using it as an escapism mechanism. I'm not going to lie to you. But small pockets of escapism. I think one thing I've realized, I love watching children. I just love the raw nature of just the happiness, the bouts of emotions, the raw emotions that they have. I think that for me is a huge part of escapism for me. I don't think about anything else. I just think about them, and that makes me really happy. And also during this trip, I think I told you in the last episode that my dance training has helped me identify emotions. And actually watching children has really helped me identify these emotions, like being scared, being angry, being sad, because their emotions are raw, whereas ours are filtered. And so that really helps me. A cup of tea really helps me, which is really interesting because that's self-gratification. And also in my spiritual journey, I've learned that you have to, well, actually, during a meditation, I got this feeling that actually I can't expect the universe to give me everything if I haven't given anything back, if I haven't sacrificed anything. So, shock horror, I think I'm going to give up tea as part of my sacrifice. I know. Everyone's like, oh, I'll just give up chocolate. But I know for tea, it's like, oh, yeah.
I'm so fascinated by this idea that you're actually encouraging yourself to give something up, like the sacrifice. Because often when we think about the forms of things that are our comfort, that ground us, when we talk about the escapism, and it sort of helps us live more fully, it's by nourishing ourselves, right? So what is it about sacrifice that helps this kind of exchange, like helping you change your mindset?
I don't think it's helping change the mindset. I was doing a meditation and I came to that realization. And actually, this is a very much Eat, Pray, Love story, but I met a spiritual leader, and he told me, he just said, you need to give up the thing you love the most and offer it to one of our goddesses. And we pray to the river Ganges, and he said, you need to offer this to the river Ganges, and that's your lifelong commitment to her, essentially. And someone next to me was like, you love tea, I think you should just give up tea. And actually it is my thing. And so that's how, from going from looking at children to now giving up tea. How did we get here, guys? How did we get here? Escapism at its finest. I also wanted to bring to the forefront that we have these very easy, attainable escapism mechanisms that you and I think they're quite natural. I really, really do. But there's also another reality that we you and I are not familiar with, which is AI. And augmented reality, and the fact that it says augmented reality in its title is an important thing. And people then, have virtual girlfriends, virtual lives. Sims, we grew up with Sims, right? That is augmented reality. How do you feel about that moving in and from the tangible escapism that we enjoy to then AI?
I don't know if it's just like Granny Sass coming out to play, but I'm always wanting to put a big caution sign, which is like, be aware of how much you're indulging in this augmented reality, because I think there's benefits with that idea of getting a pretend partner and practicing your confidence and finding joy in that end of day conversation with your beautiful AI girlfriend. But you need to make sure you're carrying that across to your real life, your real people-to-people interactions. And I think the same with anything. Like, you can use AI in a way that helps you expand your imagination. Like, you could build your favorite all-time. You could build your favorite all-time like Sims home and everything like that. Awesome. But how do you do that in real life? How can you use the skills, use your imagination, take everything you learn from this thing in AI and help it benefit your daily life? Would you get like a AI partner, do you think, Asha?
Would I have an AI? No, because I just probably shake the whole laptop like, motherfucker. Would I have an AI partner? No, I value human touch too much. I value human connection too much. I don't think I could. I totally agree with you about learning from that, actually, because since we've spoken, I have done a lot of work on opening up my heart chakra and opening up my heart space, which is been blocked for so long, for so fucking long. And any of my ex-lovers listening to this, which you probably are, you will identify with this. So actually, I could use AI to help that being unblocked and help and maintain it also. So I agree with you to use AI to help you create this life that we want, that we're escaping from. Really, really, isn't it? Really. But I wanted to talk a little bit about why I'm escaping, just to bring things keep it quite natural, keep it quite relatable, and actually just bring some meat to the topic, really. So why am I escaping? I'm escaping from my career. I still have no idea what I'm meant to be doing, no idea at all. So travel has been allowed me to basically just do that. I'm still earning some money while traveling, but again, is that my career? Not sure. I'm escaping from my creative block, actually. I thought this trip would be a huge, huge uplift in my creativity in burlesque, but actually, unfortunately, it hasn't been. But I've gained so much elsewhere. Am I escaping from my family? Yes. Am I escaping from all the questions that society throws at me? When you're, for example, going to meet family, the usual questions are house, family, car, career. I have nothing to say to any of that, so I can escape. When I'm going on a date, usually those questions are the same. Why have you not been in a relationship for 10 years? And I can say the same thing. I can vouch. I can say whatever lie I want to fucking say, but I'm still in the same choo-choo train. So yeah, those are the things I'm escaping from. And then I also thought, what does escapism give me? And again, you can be the most authentic person who you are on the road and not be judged and not be valued by your social media following. Really, if I'm being honest with myself, I have so much wisdom, so much excitement, such a really fucking cool life to share, but I just can't be bothered with the whole social media shit, as you can see on my Instagram profile. But this allows me to be who I want to be on social media, but just in real life. It's amazing. That's really cool. That's it. Done. Mic drop.
I think there's so many huge takeaways of that. One is that sometimes what is deemed as escapism escaping, is actually creating such a different daily reality that you can explore all these questions that come up. You know, when we're just hitting the road and trying to do the 9 to 5 and get the money in and pay for the mortgage and do that car thing, how much are you actually allowing yourself to sit in all those feelings? So I'm so proud of you for focusing on the heart. That's going to be kind of life-changing.
It totally is. But another thing I wanted to say, which I should have stressed on, is that what you're valued on in your normal life and what you're valued on while you're traveling, two separate things. And I feel like my value when I'm traveling is so much more to this earth. I feel like I'm giving back tenfold to humanity by everyone I meet, the interactions, the conversations, the education I'm giving from all of this reading that I'm doing. But in my normal life in London, that would never be valued as much as it is on the road. People wouldn't be like, I'm so grateful to have you in my life. But obviously they are. But for, I guess, what you're giving to this earth is far more when you're traveling. The spread is far more. And also then, do we argue that does that validation come externally from all the time, wherever you are, really? Even if you're traveling, it comes externally. That's something that I am knocking with.
I think it's interesting coming down to the validation point, because I'm remembering times that I've been traveling, and I get what you're saying, Asha, because it's true. Like, you're moving to different places all the time. You're having a conversation there that could be life-changing for that person, and then the evening you're talking to someone else. And the evening you're talking to someone else, and you're constantly spreading your sparkly magic. And I definitely understand that pressure as well of people wanting to understand what's the outcome of this trip? Why are you doing this? What's the purpose? And that's the kind of pressure that I think we also feel in everyday society, wherever you are. We put so much weight on an external finished product or a bank account or our achievements or what we possess. But actually, yeah, I'm wondering how, if we're not wanting to escape and we're still wanting to explore whatever life journey we're on, how can we ground rather than still feeling like we're constantly seeking to fly away up there? Like, I guess finding peace rather than craving that disappearing act or whatever the escapism is.
But then also it goes back to the point of lack, because then you are feeling like you're lacking something, and that's what you're trying to find is peace, right? And that's exactly what you just said. That's what it feels like to me, is that you're not finding peace constantly within yourself, and that comes from a culture of lack.
But then what's the solution, Asha?
Well, I don't know. I think the solution is, for me, it has been to find moments of peace and to remember how I found them. So whenever I feel at unrest, this is how I get them. And this is why this escapism doesn't feel like it's a waste of time for me at the moment. It feels like I've got the luxury to be able to do, the privilege to be able to do this in such an anxiety-driven society that we live in. Then how do I come back to this? So then that makes me think, okay, I'm not escaping. I'm finding my own techniques. And actually, I'm just therapy. Like, travel is therapy, literally. I'm therapizing myself every day. That's literally it. But one thing I would like to share with you and our 1,000 or 2,000 listeners is find the pockets of happiness, find what brings you peace, and remember to bring it back to you. Once you've found it already, your muscle memory will always remember how you got there. That's it.
I have a question, Lady Asha. If pockets of happiness involve staying out till 6 a.m. and partying and dancing and then seeing the sunrise, that's what I'm wondering. How do we keep a check on that? And how can you be like, okay, so what actually made me happy about those moments? Was it the community? Was it the environment? Was it moving my body? And then maybe trying to bring those things in in a different context, like wherever you are. If you're traveling from A to B and you're feeling the anxiety coming up and you're like, actually, all I need is to listen to bird song on my headphones, and that's going to help me escape this current situation. But I know it also helped me ground to help me feel better.
No, but you hit the nail on the head there. Like, I think it's breaking down what makes you happy. And then also another thing is with meditation and inner peace, we're kind of conditioned to think that it's a long fucking term thing. You've got to meditate for 10 hours. You want to meditate for an hour. If you can do it for 5 minutes, like, just be grateful that you can do it for 5 minutes. And that is your 5 minutes of peace in your head. And that's it. Like, don't put those limiting, like, beliefs or those limiting time, that not limiting time, but it's time frames on yourself. Like, if you can find 5 minutes of peace and 5 minutes of enjoyment, like pure enjoyment, then just take that and run with it. But I wanted to also discuss hustle and peace cycle, because the irony is I've been traveling for 4 months, and the funniest thing is the hustle and peace cycle is still a fucking cycle with travelers, right? Still, and even with me, I am constantly evaluating my productivity on the road. Like, okay, Asha, you have, and I call them my traveling objectives. Like, how have you ticked these off today? How have you ticked these off this week? And I find it hilarious that all of these Western travelers, I find it fucking hilarious that they crave structure. They're like, I want structure. Oh, okay. So I want to go to an ashram because I crave structure. Can you not create that structure for yourself? I don't understand. And when I was doing my intense yoga training, done like 2 months of it. So my second one was self-inflicted. I was going to the classes. I was staying somewhere else, choosing to go to yoga for 4 hours a day. Everyone who I met, they said that they preferred that because there was someone else not forcing them, but encouraging them to do yoga, and they had a bit of structure in their day. I find that really funny because traveling is not about structure. So how do you feel with the hustle peace cycle?
I think often when we're up in the air, when nothing stabilizes us, like a home to come to or that job to go to, we do tend to crave a structure of some kind. So I can really relate to what they're saying, but it's almost a bit sad. It's like, it would be easier if we could just be like, to the wind, fuck it, no objectives. Like, I love an intention. But I think on a practical note, it's avoiding rush hour, it's avoiding times of day, and that is a privilege, right? Because I'm freelance, I can choose when I work and how I work and when I travel. But I avoid those moments in the day around me when I know it is intense and it's busy and people's backs are up and they're not in the mood and it's kind of stressful energy to be around. So I think, because I am a hustler, like, honey, that is on my CV, hustle number 1. You just
You are.
I love.
And can I just tell you and our listeners, also some readers, how proud I am, because 2025 is like, I've seen you just shoot. I've not even spoken to you, I've barely spoken to you because you've been working constantly. And that from 2 months ago, not saying that you weren't working, but you were feeling a little bit jarred, I guess, or stuck. And maybe it's because I've left. But you have elevated yourself so much, and it's just incredible to see. I'm so fucking grateful and happy that you have found your path.
Oh, Asha, thanks, honey. Yeah, maybe it is a lack of Asha distractions.
You little shitbag.
No,
I live on the other end of the Jubilee line, like an hour and a half away from you. I barely call you. I don't even call you.
I've got too many comebacks right now. I'm just gonna zoom them and focus.
Well, yeah, let's make this into a public fight.
No, I'm joking, honey. I missed you. You know that. But I think I've changed my mentality for 2025. Like, this is the last episode we had was in January, and I was all about patience. And I actually think the more I wake up every day and control my mind and patiently let myself read a book, write my pages, explore that topic, rather than being like, oh my God, it's Monday, I'm going to check my bank account, I'm going to send off 5 CVs, I'm going to get on the back of all these people, I'm going to be anxious about the fact that no one's replying to my emails. I'm like, nah, man, like, chill. Just So that's my hustle piece cycle, I would say, is just being super self-aware. And I feel like that's the equivalent of what you sound like you're being, is self-aware, ultimately, at the core of it.
Do you know what? Again, I can seem like I'm fucking self-aware. And I am. I'm aware of my actions, how I behave with other people. That I can tell you about. Do I give myself enough credit to invest in my future? No. So again, perceptions are a different thing. But the hustle and peace cycle, and it's really interesting because I think about the times that I found being the most happiest while I've been traveling, and it was during that month where I was literally dancing, yogaing, I was training, I was gaining new skills, I was really in my own element. I didn't give a shit about anybody else. I didn't date. I didn't have sex. Yeah, I was hustling like a little shitbag, and that was when I felt the most happiest. But I think that was because I saw those investments pay off. Yeah, they paid off. And I'm about to go and start a new 2-week course of hardcore training with some new trainers, some new teachers. So let's see how that goes.
I'm wanting to understand this. We've got a point down, which is reverse FOMO. And
You had the point.
Pardon?
You had the point. I didn't have the point.
Oh, I put that point. Reverse FOMO, my bad.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck is this?
So let me break it down to you, Asha. It's the pressure to be living your best life and the guilt over preferring stillness. And there's been multiple times when, other people sometimes call it, what do they call FOLO? No, it's not. JOMO, the joy of missing out, right? And I think we often will be making a decision because we're scared of what we're going to lose if we don't do it, or what we won't be getting from it, or we for example, okay, let me break it down with an example. It's a night out. There's 3 options of what you can do. 3 parties. You've got guest list tickets. Honey, they're all waited for you. But it gets to 10 p.m. and you just want to stay inside and you want to put that candle on and have a little soak and you go to bed. And for me, that is something I feel so happy about making a decision over, putting myself first and not doing things because I'm wanted to be seen on that scene, or I think it would be a good networking event even. It's like, no, I'm going to fill my cup. And we talk about this all the time, right? Like prioritizing your self-needs. But I do think this is a part in the conversation of escapism, because sometimes we're escaping through escapism and we're trying to escape the fact that we don't even want to be there by going more into it. Can you see the cycle there? Like,
I lost you in the second and the third trimester. But I had a point to make with this. We are at very transitional phases in our lives, and I feel like our needs and wants are changing. And I think I spoke about it in the last episode that I am like, how I enjoy myself is changing. I've been drinking since I was 18. I'm 34 now. How many years is that? 16 years. That was pretty good math. So 16 years of my life, I've been drinking, partying, and I have had so much enjoyment out of it. I don't know how the fuck I have, but I literally have had so much fun. But how I choose to spend my life now is so, so different. But again, my muscle memory is telling me I should be doing other things. I should be with other people. An example was on Saturday. I was in my home state. So my ancestry is from Gujarat, and there's no alcohol. It's a dry state. So I was in the capital, like, what should I do? I'm here alone. Went to a rave on Friday, and I got there and I was like, do you know what? This is old me. Like, great. I want to support the youth in this state because that's an amazing fucking thing that they're doing, or a rave. Then on the Sunday, I was so ecstatic, so excited for this ecstatic dance. Like, I was like, I'm gonna be there. There's gonna be loads of people. It's gonna be fun. Like, I'm gonna fulfill the objective of meeting cool young Indian people. Built it. got to it, and I'm like, Asha, what are you doing? You don't want to go. You're exhausted. Like, I was literally exhausted. And I had the case of going for a massage or going to this. And I picked myself up. I was like, just do it, just do it, just do it. Got ready. And then I was like, babe, you don't want to go. Just don't go. So it was the case of old Asha and new Asha battling with each other. And I think, like us, a lot of other people are facing this as well. And it's also moments of chill, reading with a friend instead of having a fucking chat with a friend, or reading with a partner, just sitting in absolute quiet. Yeah.
I really want to respond to this, Asha, because I feel like you've said something that I haven't heard said before, and it's like so joyful to hear, because you're right. We maybe also escape with non-stop chatter. There are certain friendships I know where even I was sitting on the plane back from Italy, and there were two women next to me, and one woman would not stop talking, and I was like, "What are you trying to escape here? Silence? Like, zip it, honey. You do not need to talk this much." And the person next to her really looked like she the responses were getting to like It's like, yeah, this isn't a conversation. So I'm wondering how much we can encourage this stillness, this silence in friendships, rather than feeling like, oh, we have to keep on entertaining each other, and we have to be doing an activity, and we must be going to that party. I'm so proud of you, firstly, for not going to ecstatic dance. I love that you prioritized what you need and what you did, and absolutely. But yeah, like, what is it about the stuff we might be distracting ourselves with, or the habits we have that might not seem like escapism, but actually we could check?
Yeah, this is it. Habitual fucking behavior. And I told her it's muscle memory. It's habitual behavior. I think we just have to really keep ourselves in check. Like, again, me traveling, habitual fucking behavior. I've done this for 10 years of my life. Anytime life has been tough for me, I've just picked up a backpack. And also with the traveler community, we feed each other. Oh, wow, you're traveling. Oh my God. Where have you been? What are you doing? Oh, have you been to this ashram? Oh, have you been roller skating here? We feed each other. We feed each other's egos. I don't know where my point was with that, but yeah.
I have a point that we've if you are watching, we've tried really hard not to interrupt each other, so we're doing little hand gestures here. But I remember there's also this slight pressure, at least I felt it, that the longer you travelled, the more of a traveller you were. It was like, oh, how long you've only been travelling for 2 months. It's like, that's so long.
Are you here for a holiday or long-term travelling? Yeah, long-term travelling, yeah. Only 6 weeks. Okay. I haven't been here now. Oh, I can go on for fucking days about this dumb shit. But
also,
yeah,
I do have a thought. You talked at the beginning about some of the reasons that you can understand you're escaping. And I want to bring it back to responsibility, because I think when we're in environments where there's a lot of responsibility on us, whether it's our father getting, like, we have to look after our parents, or we need to help out friends, or we have a project or a career that we're trying to build, it's like, how can we then find peace and grounding in our responsibilities rather than just trying to run away from them to find that peace?
I think it comes from privilege. Like, if you are able to escape, you will escape, right? B, make a decision and stick with it. I think that's what it is. That's how I would go about it. But again, wanted to throw this back at you. Has there been a time in your life where you have stuck to your responsibilities and not chose fun over that, or vice versa? And how has that affected you in your further life?
I feel like life has pushed me to have to give up my escapiness, partly due to finances. And it's interesting you brought in privilege, because every time I've had to return home from a long extended trip of like 4 to 7 months, it's because I've run out of fucking money. And even though I've been finding things that are resourceful on the route, there's always a point where I feel like my God is knocking on my door being like, honey, it's time to go home. And it's not always been easy because home can feel like such a dopamine drop. It can feel like having to crash to earth. It's expensive in London. It's like, oh, life doesn't feel so easy sometimes. But every time I've come back, it has been for the right reason in the long run. Like I can notice in a year or 2 years, oh shit, yeah, actually I was meant to be here because now it's given me this opportunity to learn this new thing, to be at a place where actually I dreamt of, but I thought wouldn't be possible back home. Like I thought I could only learn something like dance in a different culture or a different country. No, I'm subtly seeding this one, just so you remember, Asha, that you can learn amazing dance and yoga techniques in England.
Yeah, but it costs me fucking how much, babes? No. Behave yourself. I told you I was learning yoga and dance, accommodation, food for fucking 30 quid a day.
That's
And feeding every cell of my soul. This, because I'm also giving myself grace in this trip because I haven't been to India in 16 years and every soul of my body is being ignited. Every cell of my soul is being fed. So I'm giving myself so much grace. And to the point where I have chosen responsibility, I have put down responsibilities and chosen not fun, but growth. So I've cancelled gigs in the UK, which I felt really, really awful about. And again, thinking of cancelling a few more. And I wanted to pose to you, and so our listeners can listen as to how our brains function. I've cancelled 2 gigs already, and it felt really, really bad, but I had to do it at that time, just because I had so many spiritual breakthroughs, not huge, but things that I probably never would have faced, or the universe had given me so many signs that I'm breaking through. So I cancelled 2 gigs, a few gigs actually, in London, and now I'm contemplating cancelling one more. I cancelled them last year, and it would mean I have to cancel them again. This is 2. But that integrity of work ethic versus growth, and also how much growth would you have? Is that escapism or is it growth? Balls.
It's a big, tricky one because I feel like you're having to turn down the dial of guilt and turn down the dial of that voice saying, yes, but you might never be booked again. You will always be booked. And we don't want to disappoint people. Turn down the thoughts, like turn down every single voice in your head that's like those ones and turn up intuition. Just dial it up. Like what actually is the heart of your decisions? How is it serving you? What do you want? What do you need? Maybe you cancelling is a huge part of your growth because you're learning to not feel guilty about it. But you're like, no, this is my priority right now. It's okay. I don't mind cancelling. There's so many amazing performers. You can get a replacement. You're quite logical. And your career as a performer, when you come back, if you want to pursue it, will continue to rise. Partly because of who you are and what your skills are, but also because you have built the foundation. The foundation is not going to disappear. It's so solid. This is a magical moment for you. As you said, 16 years, honey. That's huge. That is huge. So, intuition.
That's very true. Thank you. I can't believe I was so vulnerable. My gosh. A question. You said something quite interesting there. You said if I choose to come back to the career. That was a very fucking cheeky side slip, bitch. Talk to me about this, a cheeky side slip.
It's because I feel in this conversation you brought up a few of the things that you feel pressure around, like the career, the family, the home, those annoying societal pressures, and your purpose. Like, what is your purpose? And I've known you for a while, and yeah, I guess I've heard you contemplate this thing of like, but what am I doing? Where am I going? And I guess it makes me feel quite grateful that I have a clear vision in my head of what I want in my life, but I only got there from spending 7 months on the road, breaking it down. So I'm just saying because it gives space for you to really decide what do you want to do. Like, you've dipped in and out of your burlesque performance and that Pat L side of your life multiple times during the last 2 years, I would say. And it always serves you to come back revitalized. It always brings you more gumption, or it brings you more emotions of what you don't think is fair in the industry. You know, so I'm just saying if, because it might be that you come back and you're like, I only want to teach dance, or I want to go a completely different route. You know, it's just, you have endless space here to decide always what you want to do. That's why. Deep thought.
All right. Great.
Asha, we have a lightning round I really want us to go through before we end this beautiful episode for Izzy to Radio. Can I go first?
Well, yeah, because it's your bloody choice to do this, isn't it? I didn't want to do it. And I've got to do a question. Okay.
One responsibility you wish would disappear.
Oh my God. Oh, okay. The responsibility of having the perfect career.
Desert island escape item.
Knife, obviously. Why would you not take anything else? So stupid. What else would you take? What would you take?
I'm going to be honest.
What would you take?
I'm surprised by your answer. It's so logical and practical, and I fucking love the idea of a knife. But I think
I'm practical. This is the fucking thing. Everyone's like, I want to fall in love with you. No, I'm practical, bitch. Move on.
Okay, moving on. Most random.
No. What item would you take? I want to hear your impractical item. Quick fire.
Can't do quick fire. I've got so many random things. I'm like something that makes
first thing, babe.
Something that makes me happy. A pet.
You would take a pet to a desert island. What to eat?
To keep me company.
Do you not think this pet would get eaten? How are you going to defend the pet?
Next question. Most random thing you've done to avoid something.
I'm about to do a dance right now to avoid this question. No, because also you need to be asked something. Most random thing you've done to avoid something. Should I tell you something really funny? Like really fucking funny. And it's actually really in line with this, but it's crazy, not crazy, but it's super vulnerable. A few years ago, like 10 years ago, and I was traveling, I was 24, 25, 26, something, 25, 10 years ago. I was traveling and I hooked up with this guy. I can't believe I'm saying this on air. I hooked up with this guy and he was like, can you give me head? And I looked at him dead in the eye and I said, I'm really sorry. I'm just not there on my spiritual journey just yet.
I love it, babe. I love it. Get out of free jail card.
Wow. I can't believe the audacity. Even 10 years later. 10 years later. I'm still using it. What is the most random thing you've done to avoid something? I can't believe I just said that online.
I'm really grateful you shared it, and I'm quite, I don't know, I'm a bit too between wanting to laugh out loud really hard and then also knowing how important your spiritual journey is today. But yeah.
No, I was 10 years ago.
That's a long one, honey. I think I've probably, lied about some health issue, like I've shat my pants or I'm on my period. I mean, it's not random, but I've definitely used my wellness to avoid something. Yeah. I haven't got.
If you could escape to one place, where would you escape to?
A cloud in the sky overlooking a beautiful view with like trees and the water, and I just get to live on that little cloud and pop down to earth whenever I fancy. And I'd obviously have wings so I can fly around, because I think that's the absolute best way to be seeing life is as a bird. That's my very real place. You can get a ticket to clouds these days.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that you can't live on a cloud, but I'm not going to say anything. It's your augmented reality. We're talking about escapism here. Oh my gosh.
Asha,
Tell me.
I'm wondering whether we have any big key takeaways from what each other has shared to wrap up this beautiful episode for our audience. Because can I share my key takeaway from you?
Yeah.
Okay. My key takeaway from Asha this episode has been a reminder to everyone to fuck the system. You don't have to fucking know what you're doing, what your purpose is, what you're doing. Just listen, tune in. Do I want to do this thing right now? Am I craving to learn in this area and grow in this area? What environment helps me do that? And if you don't feel privileged enough to be able to go travel, please remember there are ways that you can escape in your daily life, in pockets of nature, or even looking at architecture at 3 o'clock in the morning in a city if you feel safe. You know, there's so many ways that we can escape, if in a healthy way, without financial support. But if you do have financial support or you are able to save, I would encourage you to do what Asha's doing. Fuck off.
Eat, pray, love. Eat, pray, love. Also, do not watch the film. That's my practical takeaway. Do not watch the film Eat, Pray, Love. It is shit. Honestly, I got all of my hostel buddies to come together and watch it. We paid for it. I was so embarrassed. So embarrassed. Anyway,
Especially,
what's my key takeaway?
sorry, I wanted to say, especially the part about India. It's like, how many Indians are actually in those scenes? Or is it just Westerners?
I mean, and also fucking falling in love in Bali and then finding this guy, like, who the fuck? What the fuck? Do you know what I fucking mean? Do you know what I fucking mean?
All right, Asha, key takeaways, honey. We finish.
Key takeaways. I think recognizing your escapism, recognizing your pockets of happiness. If you feel like you're escaping, check yourself, allow yourself to escape, bring yourself back without pressure. But always remember that you have the conscious ability to be able to do that. Muscle memory, I spoke about it quite a lot. I don't know how, but I feel like it's serving me very well on this trip and forever. Like things that I'm learning now, I'm trying to put into my, let's not say daily practice, fortnightly practice, love, say that. But still allowing myself to then remember, okay, Asha, you're feeling like this. What can you do to make yourself more happy? What can you do to put yourself back to the equilibrium? So that's one key takeaway, is the muscle memory. And also escapism, and also levels of escapism. You know, we do have them, and you and I have different levels. Other people have obviously other levels, and how they would be benefiting you. What's the opposite of benefit?
Hindering
you. Yeah, and just keeping a check on that. And also remembering that escapism is for you, it's not for anybody else. It's an investment in yourself.
And I think it'd be nice to share that if you are feeling the need to come back to the body, that you're feeling very like heady, then we had a few unusual grounding hacks here, which include popping a bit of ice on your wrist. So
where are you going to get ice from? I'm in India, for God's sake.
We could try.
Anyway, sorry.
Interrupting me. Glad to hear that. Barefoot walking on anything, concrete, ground, rubble, because you definitely have all of the floors in India. And then this one says humming for vagus nerve activation. Maybe you know more about what this is, Asha.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you can hum. I don't know what the vagus nerve is, but it will just equalize or just relax your nervous system. You can hum. I use tapping quite often. So, that's a stereotype of it. But there's a whole, and it goes to your chakras. I mean, I wasn't taught that, but now I'm instilling it into my life, I'm like, actually, this is all chakra based balancing. But I was in a museum a few days ago, and I was feeling so many different emotions. So I was just using that to help regulate my nervous system. And this is quite a nice thing you can do in public. If you feel a bit, unsettled. What else? Microgrounding. That's it. So you can use breathing techniques. Again, that you don't have to do it for 5 minutes. Just make sure you're regulating your breathing technique. Humming. you can't do that in public, but I actually have seen so many people do it in public. I love it. I love it a lot. One of a thing from like yoga, or I read that, is unblocking your senses. It's quite good. So you close your eyes, your nose, and your ears, and then you can hum as well. So then that completely regulates your nervous system, and that also helps. Yeah.
Thank you for those suggestions, honey. And I hope anyone who's listening / watching of our, what Asha calls our 1,000 to 2,000 viewers, I hope that you've taken something away from this. As always, we welcome your responses. You can send us a message, a good old message on the old Instagram.
Which I've had a few of, which is great. Which is really great.
I love that. Yeah, you can find Asha.
Or should I do what all the Instagrammers say? Some of you have been asking about X, Y, and Z. We don't know who the fucking some are, but some of you have commented on how great it is.
Some. But you can find us on YouTube at _The Sassy Show. That's also the same on Instagram. Hit me up at BXSassy2. And Asha, if people want to see your like non-presence online at the moment.
Dagger! Also, just before we wrap up, how do I address this? How do I address that I've not been online for 2 months?
I think that's very normal. Just be like, love my hiatus. Haven't missed you guys at all. Bye again. I think it's good for you.
But you can find me on PAT_ELLE for all of the sexy content I used to post.
Back when Asha's purpose was getting her titties out. I'm joking.
I mean, here I can't. It would be fucking great, but here I can't. Really, this is the most.
Asha's pointing to her mini cleavage. Anyway, it would be lovely talking to you all. Thank you, my darling, for this another wonderful episode of Forever Adulting.
Thank you so much for your vulnerability, your time, your organisation skills, and for being an absolute cunt bag.
Bye.
Keep it real.